Ooh, I'm mad at Seiko. In fact, I'm gonna call them. Hello, Seiko. Falling Titan here. What do you mean, who? Listen to me. If you stop putting the 6R in King Seiko going forward, that'll be the end of it. I will not look for you, and I will not find you. But if you don't, I will look for you, and I will... Hello? Seiko, where shall I begin? Well, at least we know someone is listening. How do we know? This is a no date, but they're not listening too closely, or we would have got a different movement in this thing. Introducing the all-new rebirth of King Seiko. I'm excited, the SPB283 with a gorgeous sunray black dial. This watch is inspired by the legendary 1965 KSK 44-9990. And what a beauty. The God cases from the past were amazing, and I'm glad to have that flavor back with this new watch. The case is something special, with perfect brushing on the sides of the case and on top of the lugs, and a laser sharp high polished bevel on the sides of the lugs, leading to the faceted tips. And the shape is a little bit different than the reissue King Seiko we saw the previous year. And it's clear they wanted to go in a sportier direction with this release. The limited edition remake, which is more true to the original, is completely polished, has no brushing, and only 50 meters of water resistance. This one though is keeping more in line with a sports watch. It has a push-pull 5.5 millimeter crown, giving the watch 100 meters of water resistance. Another indication that Seiko is listening, the size. This new one is smaller. Let's do the dimensions. I got 37 millimeters in diameter, thickness of 12.1, that's including that boxed sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the underside. No drilled lugs and a lug-to-lug of 43.6. So incredible dimensions. For my 6.5-inch wrist, this one wears perfect. All right, absolute perfection. It doesn't look too big, it doesn't look too small, but it has presence and I absolutely love it. This watch has probably one of my favorite handsets. Half brushed, half high polish Dauphine hands. Beautiful the way it plays with the light. Now they do make these hands in completely high polish. It doesn't have the same effect. When they bead blast half the hand, it just is a game changer. Now it sounds like it's all praise, but in the intro I mentioned I was mad at Seiko. So let's get into those negatives. The bracelet. First off, it's a male end link. And it has these 3 protruding fake links that, quite frankly, looks a little cheap. Fitment is okay, a little bit not flush, but every company does that. Rolex even tucks their oysters in, and I think it's a cool look. I have an aftermarket bracelet for my Sarb, and look at that. It has a similar style bracelet. It just feels and looks more premium with this type of end link. Now the finishing is great on the bracelet, the brushing and the high polished bevels on this gorgeous 7 link. It's ultra comfortable. It is pins and collars though, and the pins and collars are difficult to size on this one. It's not like the SAR bracelet where the collar has a secure place to sit while you put the bracelet together and get the pin in. Doesn't have that. So my advice, lay it flat on a desk and do it that way. So that's a negative. And the butterfly clasp. I wish we had micro adjustments. We don't have micro adjustments. And I can never get a perfect fit. It's too loose in the morning. It fits kind of good in the middle of the day, but then it gets tight at night. I don't know. I need a micro adjustment. It's definitely frustrating because the bracelet is unbelievably comfortable. The caseback has what Seiko is calling the new King Seiko logo, which it looks low rent, kind of like you're getting the understudy. Okay, you're getting the discount version. You're not getting the real deal here. When you look at the remake, you can see how it should be. If I didn't know how the vintage one looked, I think I would have found this caseback acceptable. But because I know how it should be, when I see this one, I think they cheaped out here. Now, another negative which bugs me. The word automatic under King Seiko. It looks really cheap. exactly like those fake Seiko dials from China. They always say automatic in this exact font, and I don't think we needed it. On the reissue, it says Diashock, and I would have loved something like that, or just leave it out. So not a fan of the word automatic there. I think they did it on purpose. They want to separate this from the higher end reissue, and that's definitely a shame. By the way, the case is actually made in China. It says made in Japan, but when you open it up, it says Case China. I opened it up to check the movement holder. This one is a new movement 6R31. It's got the plastic movement holder. Doesn't have the metal movement holder and the tabs and the screws like the remake does, and the high-end pressages. So this one has cost savings built into it, and the dial is 28.5 millimeter, so you can definitely mod this thing. So if you love the case and you want more of a sporty watch, you can put a Seiko diver handset and dial in here, and you can have that Black Bay 36 alternative with the Seiko vibe. I think that would be a cool mod. Now the dial and hands are perfect. The beautiful applied indices, they're not finished to a high degree like they would be on a Grand Seiko, but they play with the light magnificently. The top of the indices are flat with vertical striped grooves and high polished bevels on each side. In contrast, the remake is completely high polish. Powering the watch is the 6R31, exactly like the 6R35, but it's a no date, so there's no ghost position, so that's very nice. It is unfortunately a low beat, but it still has 70 hours of power reserve, 24 joules, hack hand wind automatic. We got a decent amplitude, very little beat error, 0.1, plus 13, plus 11, plus 12, and the fourth and final round, plus 12. Nobody is happier than me that King Seiko has been relaunched, but nobody is more disappointed than me that this is how they did it. The last King Seiko ever made was the 52KS. It had the caliber 52. That movement was reborn in the Red Alpinist in 1995, renamed the 4S movement, and I think maybe we should have got that one if they didn't want to step on the toes of the remake SJE with the 6L, but in the end it should have been the 6L movement. Bottom line, that's what it should have been, coming in at a price of $1,700 USD. That's incredibly overpriced for the 6R movement. This watch needs to come in at $1,300 USD, and you get a little bit discount. Maybe you're out the door at $1,200. You're gonna be happy with this case finishing, the applied indices, the box sapphire, the 100 meter, and you know what, the bracelet, if you're not as picky as me, you'll like it. It's pretty good. So overall, it's a fantastic watch and I do love it. And I even like it more than the more expensive version, the SJE, because of its size, the way it wears. SJE is 38, wears like a 40. And now my tastes have changed. I like 36s, and 37 is actually my sweet spot. So this one is 37 by 44. It actually is my perfect size. So I have such fondness for this watch, and I just wish it had a movement to match that heritage. It feels almost like Seiko doesn't care about King Seiko. I think maybe they should upgrade the 6L with silicone, put that in the reissues. Then you can keep charging $3,000 for it. And then put the regular 6L base movement in something like this at $1,700. So definitely we're paying the King Seiko tax here for this case shape and name by about $400 to $500. And I'm not a fan of that. Here's hoping Seiko is listening. I know they're not listening to this channel, but maybe bigger channels, bigger people with influence will echo my thoughts, and maybe one day we'll get the King Seiko reissue that we deserve. The SJE is perfect, but it's 38. It should be 36.5 like the original. And I'm probably going to hunt down an original once I sell my SJE. But man, vintage watches, just so scary with the water resistance. But that's another story. And guys, if you're still here, please remember to subscribe and check out more Seiko videos on the right of your screen right now. And I'll see you in the next one.